Hello and welcome. It really feels like the fashion world speaks its own language sometimes, doesn't it? Well, guess what? It does. And today, we're going to crack that code. We are going to unlock the secret vocabulary that's hidden on the tags and in the seams of the clothes you're probably wearing right now. It's this whole world of acronyms and technical terms that tell a story, a hidden story. Have you ever glanced at a tag and just felt like you needed a decoder ring to figure it out? Well, consider us your decoder ring for the day. Let's find out what all of this stuff really means. All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with the big picture, the secret language of fashion itself. Then we'll zoom right in, and we'll follow a single piece of clothing from its very first blueprint, to the assembly line, through quality control, and all the way across the globe until it ends up in a closet. Trust me, by the end of this, you'll be fluent. So to kick things off, let's zoom all the way out. Way out. Before a single stitch is even sewn, there's this massive global system that has to be organized. And, believe it or not, it all comes down to one surprisingly simple idea. Just think about every single type of clothing you can imagine. A t-shirt, a pair of jeans, a big winter coat. Well, each and every one of them is assigned a specific number. This category number, it's basically a universal passport for that garment. It's what lets customs agents in every country on Earth know exactly what's inside those giant shipping containers, which is what makes global trade even possible. And this number right here, this really paints a picture of the scale we're talking about. There are 115 official categories of garments being traded all over the world. From fancy suits to swimwear, every single one has its own number, creating this massive organized system that, well, it keeps all of our closets full. Okay, so we've seen the global system. Now let's zoom way, way in, right down to a single item. We're going back to the very, very beginning of its life, the blueprint. Before a designer adds a single pocket or a cool collar or anything like that, they start right here with something called the basic block. You can think of it as the purest form of a garment. It's like a second skin with zero style. It's the totally blank canvas from which all fashion is born. And here's how that simple block actually evolves. First, it becomes what's called a working pattern. This is where designers start to add a little extra room for seams and sketch in the style to make a first draft or a sample. Then, once that sample is absolutely perfect, it becomes the production pattern. That's the final golden template that's used to make thousands and thousands of identical pieces. Now, here's a detail that looks so tiny, but it is one of the most critical steps in the entire process. See that arrow? That's the grain line. It tells the person cutting the fabric exactly how to align that pattern with the weave of the cloth. If they're off by just a little bit, the finished shirt or dress will twist and pucker, and it will never, ever hang right. It's a tiny little line with a massive, massive impact. Okay, the blueprint is locked and loaded. Now, we head to the factory floor. This is where all the magic, and probably all the noise, happens, as these flat pieces of fabric are transformed into the clothes that we actually wear. A really, really common model in the industry is called CMT, and it just stands for cut, make, and trim. Basically, a brand will send the factory the perfected pattern and these giant rolls of fabric. The factory's job is pure assembly. They cut the hundreds of pieces, have sewers stitch them all together, and then add the trim, the buttons, the zippers, and the labels. The most fundamental part of that whole process is, of course, the seam. It's really simple. It's just where two pieces of fabric are joined together. Look down at the shirt you're wearing right now. The side, the shoulder, the sleeve, every single one of those lines is a seam, and it's what's holding the whole thing together. Now, if we were to put that seam under a microscope, we'd see the real hero of the story, the stitch. Each individual little loop of thread is a stitch. There are literally thousands of them in a single shirt, all working together perfectly to create a strong, durable seam. It's kind of like the microscopic skeleton of your clothes. And it's these little details that make all the difference. A bar tack? That's that super tough, dense stitching that reinforces the corners of your jean pockets so they don't rip. Applique is just a decorative piece of fabric sewn on for style. And inner lining is that hidden layer of fabric inside, say, a shirt collar that gives it that nice, crisp, strong shape. So just because a garment is fully sewn together doesn't mean it's ready to ship. Oh no. Now it has to face the toughest part of the whole process, quality control. This is where it's decided if the product is good enough to go or if it gets rejected. So, how in the world do you check the fit of thousands of garments without a person? Well, you use a dummy. These are life-size models of the human body, and they are absolutely essential for designers and quality controllers to see how a garment drapes, how it hangs, and how it fits, to make sure it'll look right on a real person. Okay, now this one is a huge one in the industry, AQL. It stands for Acceptable Quality Level. Just think about it for a second. A factory can't inspect every single one of, say, 10,000 shirts. It's impossible. Instead, they pull a random sample and inspect those. The AQL is the rule that says if we find more than a certain number of defects in this sample, the entire 10,000 shirt order is rejected. It's the statistical gatekeeper for billions of dollars of clothing every single year. All right, the clothes are made and they've passed inspection. Now for the final leg of the journey, the super complex business of getting them from the factory all the way over to the store. So, how does a factory in, say, Vietnam trust that a brand in New York is actually going to pay them millions of dollars? Well, they don't have to. They use what's called a letter of credit, or an LC. It's basically a legally binding promise from the buyer's bank to the seller's bank that says, hey, as soon as you prove the clothes are on the boat, the money will be released. It's the financial handshake that makes global trade even possible. And what exactly is included in the price? Well, that's where terms like FOB and CIF come into play. With FOB, or free on board, the seller's price covers getting the goods onto the ship. Simple. After that, the buyer pays for the shipping and the insurance. CIF, on the other hand, is all-inclusive. The price covers the cost of the goods, the insurance for them, and the freight to get it to its destination. It really just boils down to who pays for what and when. And there you have it. From a simple sketch to a product crossing the ocean, we have followed the entire journey. So let's just recap what you now know. So you see, it's a whole hidden language, right? You now get how a designer's first idea, that basic block, becomes a real garment. You know how the tiniest little stitch forms a seam, and how a global category number and an LC move that garment across the entire world. You have officially totally cracked the code. So the next time you look in your closet, it's not going to be just a collection of clothes. It's going to be a collection of stories. Stories of design, of production, of global commerce. Now that you know the language, what story do your own clothes tell?